This, I think, is probably one of the most important videos I've made to date. It was going to be all about cheap fake power tools you can buy in the UK like this one for 40 or 50 pounds. And so to compare it, I thought I'd go and buy the real thing for 130 pounds from my local distributor, the sort of place that's got an outlet in every town in the country, only to come home to find out that this is fake as well. So I've been well and truly stuffed. So today I'm going to show you what to look out for, so even when you're buying from reputable companies, you don't get scammed like I was. This is the DeWalt DCF 850. It's a very compact but very powerful impact driver. It's got 3 speeds on it. One of the great things about this is how small it is, and over 200 Newton meters of torque. It's a pretty powerful beast. It's been out for 3 or 4 years now, and it'll cost you about 130, 140 pound in your high street shops. But there's one thing I haven't actually told you about this yet, which is it's a fake. Yes, it's a complete knockoff. It's not DeWalt at all. I bought this recently on eBay for 43 pounds. And do you know what? When it comes to fakes, it's a really good fake. I would guess a 99 out of 100 people, if I gave this to them, would say, yes, that's a genuine DeWalt. It's got the rubberized handle, it's got the right stuff on the back. If you're from America, that might say something different, but in the UK, that says exactly the same as we'd expect to see. So all in all, it's actually a really good machine. Obviously, the prices that I'm quoting are without the batteries. It's just bare units we're talking about. So when it comes to being a fake tool, I can't really fault it. And that's the problem, is that some people will buy this thinking that it's DeWalt. I've got another one here. I've got a Makita impact driver. I think these normally retail for about £100 bare. I got this one for maybe 35. You can see them on eBay all over the place. And that's my concern, is that people buying these assuming they're the real thing. So how do we actually know whether something is fake or a knockoff? Well, there's a few telltale signs. Firstly, the price. I know from my experience over the last few years dealing with tool manufacturers, if they're earning 6 to 10%, they're doing relatively well. So there's no way you're going to buy a £140 tool for £43. And secondly, the packaging. This is a box that my DeWalt impact driver turned up in, and similarly the Makita is in something slightly more fancy, but not really the sort of box you'd expect from Makita. Definitely you should be looking at something like this rather than this rubbish cardboard box. However, these tools are so cheap, and at least they work, at least to an extent, that I'm sure a lot of people will overlook what type of cardboard box their very cheap new shiny tool came in. So the only way we can really see the differences between something like this and the real thing is to have them side by side. So yesterday I went and bought the real thing, and this is from a national tool shop, the sort of shop that has outlets in industrial areas all around the UK. So I thought I'd buy it just so we could do this comparison, and it comes in a proper DeWalt box all nicely wrapped up. So now I've got my original and I've got my fake next to each other so I can compare them properly. And this is where I started running into problems, because the more I looked at both of them, the more they looked exactly the same. At which point I realised I'd just been sold a fake for £139 by a national supplier, would you believe? And it makes sense now because the box wasn't sealed properly. It's just a little bit of sellotape there. And when I did open the box, one of the leaves is actually missing. It's been cut off, which I thought was rather strange when I first took it off. Now this is a fake because I know how to spot DeWalt fakes, which I'll explain to you in a minute. But to really show you that it's fake, I had to go and buy another one. So now I've got 2 fakes and the real thing. This is definitely the real thing. This one I bought from Screwfix, and they don't actually stock them around my way. You order them one day and they turn up the next, because they're not something that actually they keep in stock all the time. So before I show you how it actually performs in practice against the fake ones, let me run through the main differences you'll find between the original DeWalt and the fake versions, and I'll explain to you one really easy, simple way of identifying any fake DeWalt hand power tools, which you can see within seconds, and once you know about it, you'll never ever forget it. It means you can check your own tools from now on. So the first obvious difference is the fake one is about 20 millimeters longer than the original. However, if you only had the fake, very difficult if you've got nothing to compare it to. Secondly, the switch to set the speed on the base is totally different between the fake and the real thing. On the fake, it's a push button with an LED. On the real thing, it's just a three-way switch for slow, medium and fast. Ironically, the fake version has got 4 settings. Number 1 is the highest and number 4 is the lowest for some reason. Because these fakes are made for the worldwide market, I assume, it actually says 20 volt, whereas if you're buying it in the UK, it should always say 18. Not so easy to spot if you're in the US, because this will actually look right. You can also see that these holes for ventilation on the real thing are open and on the fake are closed. Coming down to a very minor thing, but the real impact driver has brushless on it and the knocked off one is just completely flat, and that's on both sides. You'll also find the belt holder that comes with the original but not necessarily with the fake versions, although it fits the original quite nicely. It doesn't actually fit the knocked off version. The holes just aren't big enough, and even if it could fit, the screw that you're given, if you put into the hole, there is no thread, whereas the real thing, there's actually a nut behind there, so it clamps to the plastic quite nicely. But trying it with the fake, it just goes in and just rattles around. There's no way that that will ever work. However, on the fake, you do get quite a nice wristband, which you never ever get with the original. So that's another giveaway sign. If you get a power tool from DeWalt with one of these, then the chances are it's fake. The other thing you find is when you put an impact driver bit into the original, it clips in quite nicely, and it has no play other than a little bit of a sprung loaded section just to move in and out. When you actually compare that to the fake knocked off version, when you put it in, you've got a lot of movement there. This chuck is made for, I think, the Japanese market, so there's nothing sprung and it's all just a little bit wibbly wobbly. So let's see how they compare when we give them a little bit of a test. This is the original DeWalt and this is the fake knocked off version, both on the high speed on both. The lights are also a little bit stronger on the original rather than the fake version. But the problem with most of those things I've just pointed out is you do need the original and the fake version next to each other to be able to compare. But there is something that's on all DeWalt power tools where you can actually tell whether it's fake or original, and that's all based around screws. And there's 2 telltale signs that you'll be able to see immediately on fake DeWalts compared to the original. And firstly, that is where these screw holes are all over the frame, holding one side to the other. You see this rubberized section doesn't actually go into the screw hole, so it's just yellow, it's a yellow plastic. Whereas on the real thing, the rubber actually goes into the screw hole, so you can't actually see it. It doesn't highlight the screws up. You can see one compared to the other. The second most important thing that will always give away a fake DeWalt is that the screws that they use to hold the 2 sides of the moulding together on the original DeWalt power tools are always Torx screws, most of which have also got a slot so you could potentially undo them with a flat-headed screwdriver. Whereas the fake knocked off tools always have simple, cheap Phillips heads on. So just from the screws alone that hold the 2 halves of the plastic body together, you'll be able to tell whether you've got an original DeWalt. And that goes for all the power tools, all the hand power tools like drills, impact drivers, multi-tools, electric planers, and even my battery-powered SDS drill here. You can see that's a Torx screw rather than a simple Phillips screw. So anything within the XR range, like any of these sort of tools, will always have Torx screws, so you can immediately see it. So that's the difference between a fake and an original. However, I do need to come back to the fact that a national tool supplier has now recently given me a fake tool for £139. Now, I think what has happened is someone has bought that tool, they've also bought a fake off of eBay, they've swapped them around and then gone back to the shop and got a refund for their £139. So eventually they've ended up with an original tool at the cost of a fake one. Unfortunately, the next person through that shop that wanted that tool, i.e. me, ends up given whatever was given back, and it's such a good fake that no one spotted it. And now I realise why the box had been cut. This flap had been cut off, and that's because that the tool is 20mm longer than the original. So when they put it back in the box, the thing is a little bit too big. So they cut the flap off just to make a little bit more room, and then sort of pushed it all together, hoping with a little bit of sellotape that it looks okay. So the lesson here is, even if you're going to buy DeWalt tools from a reputable dealer, double check when you get them home that they're actually the real thing. Not because the shop is selling knocked off fakes, it's just you don't know what's been returned. And as I said, these are such high quality fakes. Unless you really know what you're looking for, you're never going to spot it. As for the national company that sold me this fake tool, I've asked them for a comment and I'm still waiting for an answer. So you never know, there may be a part 2 to this video depending on what they say. In the meantime, I'm not only going to go back and get a refund for the dodgy one that they sold me for £139, I'm going to make it very, very clear that it is a fake, so at least they won't repackage it and send it out to someone else. But if they do, and it's one of you, then at least you know how to spot a fake knocked off DeWalt in the future. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you next time.